After my best buddy, Jack Hughes, certified my 20th girlfriend as another gold digger, I finally agreed to an arranged marriage to the wealthy heiress Cyndi White. My family was delighted. Later, at a gathering with friends, Jack snatched Cyndi's half-eaten cake and said like he was her real husband, "Cyndi, this cake is too sweet. Eating too much won't be good for you. I'll eat it for you." I stopped him, but he did not just think he was in the right. He even let his guard down and said, "I was just testing your wife's character. Why all the fuss? We've been bros for over a decade. Do you think I've got my eye on your wife?" If it were in the past, I might have believed him. However, I had been reborn. I grabbed the cake from the table and slammed it into his face. "What kind of character do you have, testing other people's character like that? You're just my late driver's son. Why are you pretending to be some wealthy heir? I bet you've not only got your eye on my wife, but you've already planned how to get into her bed." After I said that, my friends all gathered over. Jack Hughes's face turned red and then pale. It took him several minutes to regain his composure and hurriedly wiped the cake off his face. "Shane, how can you talk like that? Would you have been able to marry Cyndi White if it weren't for me helping you filter out those 20 gold diggers over the last few years?" Cyndi frowned. She knew I had dated other women before her, but she probably did not realize the number was so staggering. I smiled and stared at Jack, retorting, "Every time I got a new girlfriend, you couldn't wait to act like my best friend and test them for me. Of course I had to change girlfriends every 2 months. I never even touched those ex-girlfriends, but you must have slept with quite a few of them, didn't you?" Jack was actually my late driver's son. When I was in primary school, my family's driver died saving my father. His only wish was that the Carter family would take good care of his son. My father was grateful to him, so he not only funded Jack's life for many years, but also let him stay at our house. We had played together since childhood and quickly became brothers who could talk to each other about anything. He always posted my luxury items and life online to curate the image of a rich heir. I never said a word about this. I never imagined that someone I treated like a brother could not stand to see me doing well. In my past life, he was jealous that I married a wealthy heiress, so he spread rumors about my promiscuous lifestyle. Those 20 ex-girlfriends he seduced actually conspired to drug me, and even take nude photos of me to curry favor with him. Unable to bear the shock, I committed suicide by jumping off a building. It was only before I died that I learned Jack had been claimed to be the true heir of the Carter family to seduce my girlfriends. He always feigned innocence afterward. "Shane, I really didn't know it would turn out like this. I only said a few words to her, and she immediately showed her true colors. But it's for the best. At least we saw her true character. We're better off without a gold digger like her." After saying that, he distanced himself from me as if it were all those women's faults. The thought of this made my stomach churn. I felt so nauseous I almost vomited. Jack glanced at Cyndi with reddened eyes and said aggrievedly, "I didn't sleep with any of them. I had a strict upbringing and always come home before 10 p.m. How could I do something like that? I've never even had a girlfriend." Just like in my previous life, he maintained the persona of an innocent heir. I could not stand seeing his disgusting face, so I stood up to leave. However, Cyndi pulled me back to my seat. "Shane, Jack means well. I think we should let it go. He was just joking and I didn't fall for it. Don't worry. I'm not a playgirl, much less a gold digger." That sounded familiar. After all my 20 exes had sworn they were not gold diggers. It seemed Jack had succeeded after all. However, I wanted to see if Jack could bear the consequences of ruining my marriage to the White family. Cyndi was the sole heir of the White family. Her friends naturally showed her some respect, and all of them tried to persuade me that nothing would happen. "Yeah, Shane. You've already married Ms. White. Are you still worried that she might run away?" "Yeah. I think Jack is just overly concerned about you." "Isn't Jack the brother you're always proud of? How could he harm you? You have a rich and beautiful wife, and you also have a wealthy friend. We all envy you to death. Just be content with your life." I clenched my fists and almost shattered my lower teeth from how hard I bit down to suppress my anger before I managed to sit back down. Jack gave me a smug smile and plopped down beside me, deliberately touching the limited edition wristwatch on his wrist. When our friends saw the watch, they all let out a chorus of exclamations. "Jack, you actually managed to get your hands on that watch. Oh my God. There are only 3 in the world, and one is in the hands of the richest person in the city. Could you be?" Jack probably did not expect this watch to be so valuable. He immediately took the chance to reply arrogantly, "It's nothing. My family has plenty of these kinds of watches." I almost burst out laughing. The watch clearly belonged to my father. How did it end up in his hands? In my past life, he stole my dad's luxury goods to rent out and make money off fake heirs. I guess that was how he got this watch. A friend looked at me suspiciously and then at Jack. "But isn't the White family allying with the richest family in the city through marriage? If you're the richest man's son, Shane must be." He paused, his tone subtle. "Could it really be like the rumors say? Is Shane just the richest man's adopted son?" Another friend immediately chimed in, I suppose so. I heard they adopted the driver's son to repay a debt of gratitude. They even treat him like their own. I guess Shane is that son. It's hard to understand why someone would give up their own son's marital happiness to repay a debt of gratitude. I don't know what they're thinking. Using an adopted son for the marriage. How much do they look down on the White family? I think Jack and Cyndi are a better match. Jack's expression changed. Cyndi and I had a whirlwind marriage, so he had no idea it was a business arrangement. Cyndi's face also instantly darkened. Her pride was clearly hurt. I took out my phone and slowly scrolled through a local app. I think I've seen this watch on quite a few influencers in this city. I paused deliberately looking at Jack. But they all claim to be wealthy heirs on their profiles. Could it be that you guys are taking turns renting this watch? Jack's face flushed red and then turned pale, his eyes glaring at me as if he wanted to devour me alive. Yes, I used to be simple-minded. Not only would I not have exposed him in public in the past, but I would even have been grateful to him for testing my gold digger girlfriends for me. Seeing that his friends were starting to doubt him, Jack flew into a rage. He took the watch off and slammed it to the ground, stomping on it while yelling, "This is my watch. What right do you have to slander me? I'll smash it to pieces, and you can't say anything about it." Everyone held their breath. No one dared to speak. The limited edition watch worth millions of dollars was trampled to pieces. I clicked my tongue a few times before mocking with a half smile. "You must have felt good stomping on it. Have you thought about how you're going to explain this to my dad?" As soon as I finished speaking, Jack panicked. He lost his footing, tripped, and fell hard. He looked disheveled, his hands cut and bleeding from the watch's glass shards. He looked at me. "Shane, are you satisfied now?" Cyndi grabbed his hand, tenderly sucking the blood from it and simply bandaging it with a tissue. Then she led him outside. "Let's head to the hospital." Seeing me sitting still, she got angry. "Shane, Jack isn't just your good friend, he's like your younger brother. How could you do this to him? You're now the White family's son-in-law. I did this for the White family's reputation. I'm telling my dad about this. You should reflect on your actions." I walked out nonchalantly. Cyndi had already helped Jack into the front passenger seat. She did not even glance at me before driving off with a stomp on the accelerator. I leisurely strolled around the mall for a while before returning to the Carter family's villa, where Cyndi and I were meant to live as a married couple. As soon as I got back, I ran into Jack. He was sitting on the living room couch with a contented expression. Seeing me back, he rubbed his temples and asked, "Shane, Cyndi said to let me stay here for a while. You don't mind, do you?" I put down my things and asked sarcastically, "Don't you have to go home before 10 p.m. every night?" Cyndi's cold voice came from behind me. "Shane, why are you being sarcastic? If it weren't for you scaring Jack, he wouldn't have been injured. He will be recuperating at our place. You caused this, so you have to take care of him yourself." I understood a little of what she was trying to do. Was she trying to make me, the real Carter family heir, be at Jack's beck and call? I picked up the car keys again and was about to go out. "All right, I won't disturb you. I'll go stay with my parents." "How dare you?" Cyndi was momentarily left speechless by my retort. Jack looked pale behind her. "Shane, forget it. It's not a big deal. I don't need your apology. Cyndi is a good woman. I just hope you can cherish her." A flicker of tenderness crossed Cyndi's face. It was a look I had not seen in all the time she was with me. She took Jack's hand and instructed the butler, Mariah Willer, "Madam Willer, clean the rooms upstairs and arrange for whatever Jack wants." Then she turned to me, saying impatiently, "You can wait here. I'll settle everything with you when I get back." I could not help but burst into laughter. "Yeah, I'll wait. Let's see who ends up settling with whom. Since you love my driver's son so much, I'll have my parents grant your wish." Jack swayed, his face contorted with grief and indignation. "Shane, I know you're still mad at me, but I truly considered you a brother. That's why I did this. Even if you can't understand me, you shouldn't hurt me like this. If I had not been reborn, I might have actually been fooled." I stood up, glanced at Cyndi shielding Jack behind her, and said with a half smile, "You said Cyndi was a good woman, but she's hugging her fiancé's brother. How can she still be considered a good woman? Does that mean only the women you sleep with are gold diggers?" "Shane," Cyndi pointed at me angrily. "Jack showed me those chat records. He and your exes had nothing going on. He only chatted with them for a bit, and realized they had ulterior motives. He was just reminding you out of kindness. I haven't even said anything about you yet. With so many exes, just how desperate are you?" Jack whispered, "Cyndi, don't blame Shane. It's my fault for meddling so much." Cyndi gently squeezed his shoulder, her tone dismissive. "He's just an adopted son living in your house. He has no class of a rich heir at all. The Carter family really doesn't respect the White family at all. How dare they let some man whore with no self-respect marry me?" This was the 21st gold digger Jack had tested for me, so I was genuinely grateful to him. I simply sat down, crossed my legs, and nonchalantly asked, "So you want to break off the marriage now?" Cyndi and Jack were both stunned to hear this. Jack only dared to impersonate me to ruin my relationships before. He dared not break off a business marriage like this. Cyndi quickly regained her composure and replied firmly, "It's good that you know your place. The position of the White family's son-in-law is not meant for a fickle man like you. If you know what's good for you, get out and don't tarnish the White family's home." Outrageous. Before she could finish speaking, a roar came from outside the door. "Break off the marriage? It's not your place to say that." Everyone looked over and saw my father, Henry Carter, walking in grimly, followed by my mother, who also looked displeased. The White family patriarch and matriarch followed behind, their expressions grim too. The sheer volume of my father's voice seemed to make the crystal chandelier above us tremble. Cyndi froze. She looked at my parents, then at her own, her haughty expression faltering for a split second before she forced it back into place. She stepped forward, her chin raised, assuming they were here to back her up. "Dad, Mr. and Mrs. Carter," Cyndi said smoothly, pointing a manicured finger at me. "You're just in time. I cannot tolerate this man anymore. The White family agreed to this marriage out of respect for your family, but look at the quality of the adopted son you gave me. He's petty, cruel, and he violently assaulted Jack, the true heir of the Carter family. I want an annulment right now. I will only marry Jack." Dead silence. The kind of silence that precedes a catastrophic explosion. Jack, who had been leaning against Cyndi like a wounded puppy, suddenly stiffened. The blood drained entirely from his face, leaving him looking like a freshly powdered corpse. He tried to tug at Cyndi's sleeve, whispering frantically, "Cyndi, stop talking." "Why should I stop?" Cyndi pulled her arm away, emboldened by the presence of the elders. "Jack, you're too kind. That's why he bullies you. You are the real young master. He's just the driver's son your family took pity on." Smack. The sound echoed sharply through the grand living room. Cyndi staggered backward, clutching her cheek in shock. It wasn't my father who hit her. It was Mr. White. "You stupid, blind, arrogant girl." Mr. White roared, his chest heaving. His face was a dark, dangerous shade of purple. "What kind of garbage have you been feeding your brain? Adopted son? Driver's son? Look at the man standing in front of you." Mr. White grabbed Cyndi by the shoulders and forcefully turned her to face me. "This is Shane Carter, the sole biological son of Henry Carter, the only heir to the Carter Group. Who the hell told you he was adopted?" Cyndi's eyes widened to the size of saucers. She looked at me, standing casually, with my hands in my pockets, and then darted her gaze to my father, Henry Carter, whose facial features were nearly identical to mine. The realization hit her like a freight train. "And no," she stammered, her voice trembling. "That can't be. The rumors. Jack's watch. Jack told everyone." "Jack." My father stepped forward, his aura so oppressive that Jack's knees visibly buckled. My father looked down at the bleeding, shivering man on the floor. The gratitude and affection he used to hold for his late driver's son had completely evaporated, replaced by absolute disgust. "I took you in," my father said, his voice deadly quiet. "I paid for your elite education. I clothed you, fed you, and let you live in my home. I even turned a blind eye when you took photos of Shane's cars and clothes to post online to satisfy your vanity. But I never gave you permission to steal my son's identity." "Uncle Henry, I didn't. It's a misunderstanding." Jack scrambled forward, ignoring the glass shards cutting into his palms. He grabbed the hem of my father's trousers. "It was just a joke. The others assumed it. I never explicitly said." "Save it," I interrupted, walking over and kicking the remains of the shattered watch toward them. "Dad, speaking of stealing, your limited edition Patek Philippe. Jack stole it, paraded it around our friends, and when I called him out on it, he threw it on the ground and stomped it to pieces to save face." My father looked at the twisted metal and crushed sapphire glass on the carpet. The vein in his temple throbbed. "That watch," my father said softly, "was bought at auction for $6.5 million. Jack let out a strangled gasp, choking on his own saliva. $6.5 million. In his mind, he probably thought it was a $50,000 piece he could somehow lie his way out of. "Cyndi," I said, turning my attention to my wife, who was currently trembling so hard she looked like a leaf in a hurricane. "Didn't you say you're not a gold digger? Didn't you say you were just defending the true heir? Now that you know Jack is just a parasite living off my family's charity, do you still want to marry him?" Cyndi opened her mouth, but no words came out. The man she had been tenderly bandaging, the man she had been defending against me, was suddenly nothing more than a thief with a massive debt. "Mr. Carter, Shane, please." Mr. White suddenly bowed deeply, pulling his wife down with him. The proud patriarch of the White family was sweating profusely. My daughter has been manipulated by this con artist. It's her foolishness, but her heart isn't malicious. The marriage is over, I stated flatly. Shane, Cyndi cried out, suddenly snapping out of her daze. She lunged toward me, trying to grab my arm, but I stepped back, letting her grasp empty air. Shane, I was tricked. He lied to me. You know I wouldn't have treated you like that if I knew the truth. That makes it worse, Cyndi, I sneered. You only respect money. You don't respect me. You were ready to kick your own husband out of the house because you thought I was poor. We'll have the annulment papers drawn up by tomorrow. My father nodded in agreement. Mr. White, I believe our business partnership needs to be reevaluated. If your successor is this easily manipulated by a cheap con man, I cannot in good conscience merge our assets. Mr. White looked like he was about to have a heart attack. He glared at Cyndi with pure hatred, then turned his murderous gaze to Jack. As for you. My father looked down at Jack one last time. Mariah, the butler, who had been standing silently in the corner, stepped forward. Yes, Mr. Carter. Pack his things. Only the clothes he bought with his own money from his part-time jobs, if there are any. Everything bought with Carter money stays. Throw him out. And contact our legal team. I want a lawsuit drafted for the theft and destruction of a $6.5 million asset. Let's see how long he rots in prison. Uncle Henry, you can't. Jack shrieked, tears and snot mixing on his face. My father died for you. My father gave his life to save yours. Your father was a good man, my father said coldly. And I have repaid his life by raising you for 20 years. But your father wouldn't want me to harbor a venomous snake that tries to bite my own son. The debt is paid. We owe you nothing. The next week was a masterclass in watching lives unravel. The news of the annulment hit the high society circles like a bomb. Cyndi was officially stripped of her position as the general manager of the White family enterprise. Her father, desperate to salvage his company's stock prices, publicly announced that Cyndi would be sent abroad for further education. In reality, she was being exiled with frozen bank accounts. Before she left, she came to my office. She looked entirely different from the arrogant heiress who had yelled at me in my living room. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by a simple trench coat. Her eyes were red and swollen. Shane, she choked out, standing by my office door. Please, just 5 minutes. I didn't look up from my laptop. Make it 2. She walked in and stood before my desk. I'm sorry. I was blind. Jack is a monster. After I was cut off, he tried to contact me. When he realized I had no money, he cursed me out. He called me a stupid bitch. He said I ruined his life. And you came here expecting what? Sympathy. I finally looked at her, my expression devoid of emotion. No, she sobbed. I came to warn you. He's gone crazy, Shane. He knows about the lawsuit for the watch. He's backed into a corner. He said he's going to destroy your reputation before he goes down. He said he has leverage on your ex-friends. A cold smile tugged at the corner of my lips. Just like my previous life. When cornered, a rat will bite. In my past life, Jack had successfully released a torrent of evidence claiming I was a sexual predator who played with women's feelings. He had used the 20 ex-girlfriends he manipulated to form a choir of victims. The sheer weight of the public backlash, combined with the betrayal of my friends, had driven me to jump off that building. Thank you for the warning, Cyndi, I said calmly. You can leave now. She looked at me, a glimmer of desperate hope in her eyes. Shane is there. Any chance, if I come back in a few years, changed? None, I said. Close the door on your way out. Once she was gone, I picked up my phone and dialed my private investigator. Are all 20 of them secured? I asked. Yes, Mr. Carter, the voice on the line replied. We've located all your ex-friends. As you suspected, Jack Hughes has been quietly blackmailing most of them for years. We have the chat logs, the financial transfers, and the testimony. Good, I said, looking out the floor-to-ceiling window at the city skyline. It's time to close the net. Jack was not one to go down quietly. Knowing my father's lawyers were preparing a lawsuit that would bury him in millions of dollars of debt, Jack took the coward's route. He played the victim. On social media. He didn't have my father's watch anymore to show off, but he had years of curated photos in our mansion, driving my cars, wearing my clothes. He posted a long, tear-jerking video on his main account, which had garnered a few 100,000 followers over the years. The rich have no conscience, the caption read. In the video, Jack sat in a dingy motel room, looking disheveled and bruised. He probably kept the cuts from the watch glass untreated for dramatic effect. I've been loyal to the Carter family my whole life, Jack cried to the camera. My father died for them. But just because I tried to protect Shane Carter from gold diggers, he framed me for destroying a watch. He stole my fiancée Cyndi White through a dirty business deal, and now he's trying to send me to prison because he's jealous of my popularity. And the worst part? Shane is a monster. He abuses women. I have proof. The internet exploded. The narrative of a poor, loyal orphan being crushed by a tyrannical billionaire heir was too juicy for the public to ignore. Within hours, the hashtag boycott Carter group was trending. My father's PR department was in a frenzy, but I told them to stand down. Let the bullet fly a little longer. I told my father over a cup of tea in his study. My father frowned, looking at the crashing stock numbers on his tablet. Shane, I trust you, but this is damaging our reputation. Why are we staying silent? Because if we squash him now, people will just say we used our money to silence him. I explained. I want him to play all his cards. Once he brings out his proof, we will rip him out by the roots. The next day, Jack played his trump card. He announced a live stream where he would bring victims forward. I was sitting in my living room, watching the live stream on my massive TV. Jack looked smug. He was back in his element, holding the attention of millions. Today, Jack said into the microphone, I have brave women who are willing to speak the truth about Shane Carter. He clicked a button, bringing 3 women into the video call. They were my 3rd, 9th, and 17th ex-girlfriends, Sarah, Emily, and Chloe. My heart pounded with a dark, vengeful anticipation. In my past life, these women had taken my money, cheated on me with Jack, and then poured dirty water on my grave. Sarah, Jack prompted, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. Tell the audience what Shane did to you. Sarah looked at the camera. She looked pale. Then she took a deep breath. Shane Carter did nothing to me, Sarah said clearly. Jack's smug smile froze. Wait, what? Sarah, don't be afraid. We talked about this. Tell them how he forced you. You forced me. Emily, my 9th ex, suddenly screamed into her mic. You approached me claiming you were Shane's brother. You slipped something in my drink at the club, took naked photos of me, and threatened to send them to Shane and my family if I didn't break up with him and sleep with you. The live chat, which had been moving at light speed with anti-Carter comments, suddenly ground to a dead halt. Jack's face turned the color of ash. You bitches. Carter paid you off. He bought you. He didn't buy us, Chloe said, holding up her phone to the webcam. On her screen was a printed bank statement. You've been extorting me for $2,000 a month for the last 3 years to keep quiet about the photos you took. I have all the text messages, Jack. You sick bastard. Cut the feed. Cut it. Jack screamed, reaching for his computer. But before he could pull the plug, his motel room door was violently kicked open. On camera, the live stream captured everything perfectly. 4 uniformed police officers rushed into the room. Jack Hughes, the lead officer barked. You are under arrest for grand larceny, extortion, distribution of illicit materials, and blackmail. Put your hands behind your back. Jack fought them, screaming and crying, looking like a feral animal as he was slammed onto the cheap motel carpet. The handcuffs clicked shut. The live stream ended, leaving millions of viewers staring at a black screen. I took a slow sip of my coffee. It tasted exceptionally sweet today. The aftermath was a bloodbath, and I orchestrated every minute of it. I didn't just let the police handle it. I unleashed the full legal might of the Carter Group. My legal team worked pro bono for all 20 of the women Jack had manipulated. It turned out the rabbit hole went deeper than I had even realized in my past life. Jack hadn't just seduced them out of jealousy. He was running a systematic extortion ring. He used his position as my brother to vet my girlfriends, single out the ones with vulnerabilities or insecurities, drug them, compromise them, and then force them to break up with me so he could milk them for cash. Used the money to fund his secret life, the life he couldn't afford on my father's allowance alone. He was a sociopath who wore the skin of a loyal best friend. The trial was a media circus, with 20 victims stepping forward, mountains of digital evidence, and the separate civil suit regarding the $6.5 million watch. Jack didn't stand a chance. His public defender tried to argue that his difficult childhood and his father's death had caused severe psychological trauma. When the judge asked Jack if he had any final words before sentencing, he turned to look at me in the gallery. He had lost at least 20 pounds. His hair was thinning, and his eyes were hollow. Shane, he whispered, his voice cracking. We were brothers. We played video games together. We shared secrets. How could you be so ruthless? I stood up from my seat. The courtroom was silent. We were never brothers, Jack, I said, my voice echoing in the quiet room. Brother doesn't covet what is yours. A brother doesn't destroy the women you care about. A brother doesn't steal your life. You loved the idea of being Shane Carter, so much, you forgot how to be human. Now you get to be nobody. The judge slammed his gavel. Jack Hughes was sentenced to 25 years in a maximum security prison, without the possibility of parole for the first 15 years. Given his crippling debts to my family, any penny he ever made for the rest of his miserable life would go straight to our accounts. As the bailiffs dragged him away, he finally broke. He didn't scream my name or curse me. He just wailed a high-pitched, pathetic sound of a man who realized his entire existence was built on lies that had finally collapsed. Spring arrived, washing away the bitter cold of the winter months. I stood on the balcony of the Carter Group headquarters, the city sprawling beneath me like a glittering chessboard. A lot had changed in the past 6 months. The White family never fully recovered from the scandal. Mr. White's health deteriorated, and without the Carter merger, their stock plummeted. I heard through the grapevine that Cyndi was working as an assistant manager at a mid-tier retail store in Europe, stripped of her trust fund, forced to actually work for a living. I didn't feel pity. She got exactly what she bargained for. A life without the adopted driver's son. My parents had taken a step back from the company, deciding to travel the world. My father realized that working himself to the bone wasn't worth it if he couldn't protect his own flesh and blood from the snakes in his house. He handed the reins of the Carter Group over to me entirely. I had also made peace with my past. I met with a few of my ex-girlfriends, not to rekindle romance, but to offer closure. Many of them had moved on, empowered by taking Jack down in court. We were victims of the same monster, and taking him out had healed something broken inside all of us. Mr. Carter? I turned around. My assistant, a sharp, fiercely loyal woman named Clara, stood in the doorway with a tablet. The board is waiting for you in the conference room. We're ready to proceed with the acquisition of the northern tech firm. I'm on my way, I said. I took one last look at the city. In my past life, I had jumped from a building just like this, my heart heavy with betrayal, my name dragged through the mud. I had died a joke, a victim of my own misplaced trust and naivety. But rebirth wasn't just about getting a second chance to breathe. It was about opening your eyes. It was about realizing that true power doesn't come from the money you inherit or the watches you wear. It comes from the clarity of knowing exactly who your enemies are and having the spine to crush them before they can strike. I adjusted my tie, feeling the solid, heavy weight of my father's backup Patek Philippe on my wrist. I smiled. This life was entirely mine, and I wasn't going to waste a single second of it. I walked past my assistant, heading toward the boardroom, ready to conquer the world.